First, let's get a coach some love. Who you got as coach of the year right now?
Well, that's an interesting thing because with the NBA going on right now, someone could be hot right now. The NBA runs all, but the run. So right now, the Utah Jazz are looking really good on the top in the West. So you have to give Quinn Snyder some love. Also, this young team got put together. They didn't even make the playoffs last year in the bubble. The Phoenix Suns with Monty Williams as their coach, they're second in the West right now, looking good. With the hope that they can keep their roster healthy, then they can move on, hopefully make the playoffs, and make a deep run into the playoffs. But with all that being said, I got to give this guy some accolades also in the East. The Charlotte Hornets, James Borrego, he got a young team, but exciting team. I like watching them. Sometimes you understand by their youth why they don't win at the end of games, but they have the talent and I think they have the team to end up making the playoffs. They're seventh in the East right now, but I think they'll make the playoffs and be an exciting opponent for anybody they face in the playoffs.
That's true. Like I said, my dark horse to win. Well, he's not even a dark horse at this point. He's a favorite. He mentioned Quinn Snyder. It kind of looks like Christian Bale to me. That's the guy from The Dark Knight. But yeah, he's done an excellent job with the Utah Jazz. I mean, that team is stacked. They were put together organically. They didn't have any super free agents to join their team, and they just have grown as a team. You can see he's done an excellent job with them. Like you said, Monty Williams, who has been an underrated coach in this league for a long time. He was recently in the news of his wife passing. I know you guys remember that if you watch ESPN. So I'm happy for him, especially the success he's having with Devin Booker and Chris Paul, because it's well deserved. And like I said, he's been a long underrated coach, a long time assistant in the NBA right now. But heading over to the East, like I said, Doc Rivers. Everybody knows Doc. He has success wherever he goes. Some could say he has the MVP front runner. We're gonna get to that maybe later in the podcast. But that team could push the East to be the team that comes out of the East, push the Eastern Conference.
That's true, but of course you always got to keep eye on the Milwaukee Bucks. With Giannis out, man, Giannis is a beast. He could also be in that running that we'll be talking about later, but also the Milwaukee Bucks, the Philadelphia.
Hold on. Why you look so stiff on the camera? Like, loosen up, man, loosen up.
Get your hands off me.
Loosen up. Look, okay. So the other team I wanted to mention has a good coach, a new coach this year, Steve Nash. Should he be in the running for Coach of the Year?
Well, I'm a big Steve Nash fan. As a player, understand this guy was a two-time MVP. So understanding the NBA game and understanding players should not be a difficult thing for him. But again, we're talking about, you remember guys like even Steve Kerr had a super team. Phil Jackson, these super teams. The gentleman down in Miami, super teams. Mm-hmm. So you got to understand right now, he has three of the best players in the NBA, and he just added Blake Griffin. So I that's not lost on me, but they should be winning. They should be succeeding. But nevertheless, you still got to put them together. You still got to mesh them. They still have to play together. So he gets some love, but again, with that talent, it's almost like you can roll the ball out, and if those guys are healthy, they're going to win. So they're missing Kevin Durant right now, and they're still making some moves and winning. So he gets some love. But again, as far as Coach of the Year, I'm not going to say that yet until they come out of the East and maybe where the rankings are in the East. So until they show me that they're going to be in top in the East, I mean, they should be winning.
So let me ask you this, because it's long been said that coaches like Phil Jackson and what's my Miami guy? His name escaping me right now. He's the GM for the Heat.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley. A lot of times these coaches are undermined and saying that they just had an abundance of talents on their team, so the coaching was, not really necessary. Like those teams could basically police themselves. But an interesting point about Phil Jackson, it takes much more of a manager when you have these teams with a lot of egos and these high-profile players. I think it's much more of a coaching job to be had when you do have these types of players. It makes the job that much harder because you, one, have to satisfy your superstars, and then, you know, make your other guys feel important. And then just the cohesiveness that needs to come from those two dynamics. That's why, for one, I still have to consider Steve Nash in the running for Coach of the Year, because that's a hefty job he has. And like you said, they're expected to win. And if they underperform, then, you know.
Well, understand this. Most successful coaches in the NBA were former players. Okay. And you got to look at Steve Nash was a former player, and he's a two-time NBA player. So automatically he deserves respect, and he gets respect because he was a great player in this league. Right. Phil Jackson played in the NBA. He won NBA championship as a player. He won a championship in the CBA. So he was a winner even before he began coaching in the NBA. So then when he made his run with the Chicago Bulls, when he went to the Lakers, there's no doubt. He captured their attention. He captured Kobe. He captured Shaq. He knew how to relate to them because, again, he was a championship coach even before he got to those guys. He was a championship player, playing those championship teams. Played with Wilt Chamberlain. Played with guys like that. So you earn the respect of the players because of not only your past, but your demeanor with the players. He can get their respect, just like Steve Nash. He can get Kevin Durant's respect. He can get Harden's respect. He can. Kyrie Irving has not been an MVP. Kevin Durant and James Harden have, so he can get their respect. And also, I was an MVP. This is how I can relate to you. So the players that they put together, the biggest thing for him is to get them to buy in and say, okay, I was an MVP. How can we mesh our talents together to take us all to the next level?
That last point, I don't think you want Shaq to hear that. He got a problem with that. A couple of those MVPs that Steve Nash had.
Well, again, at the moment,
beside the point.
I mean, it could have been political. Shaq, just like we talked about, you always tell me about LeBron James. You know, Shaq probably should have won those MVPs.
Right.
But understandably so.
Some Kobe should have won one of those as well. But you know.
So a lot of times, it's looked at how did you affect your team. Now, I'm not going to take nothing away from Shaq or Kobe, but say, for example, you take Shaq or Kobe off that team, they're still successful because you have one or the other. Oh, true. If you took Steve Nash off the Phoenix Suns, they might have had Amari Stoudemire, but they wouldn't have been as good or as successful if they didn't have Steve Nash. So I'm not taking nothing away from Nash because, Shaq or Kobe probably should have won those MVPs, but they didn't, and he won too.
Well, I mean, not to get off the path here, but we got this next award. They probably should name it after Lou Williams because he's been the staple.
Well, even before you go that far,
Man of the Year award.
Well, hold on, even before you go that far, so let's solidify who you and I consider at this point who should be Coach of the Year. Let's get that point solidified, then let's move on.
Okay, for me. It's sort of a toss-up at this point. Like the point that you mentioned earlier, Monty Williams is taking a team that didn't make the playoffs last year, were a fringe playoff team, and they're very successful. They had
they're second in the West right now.
Second or third, one of them.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's a tremendous job given the circumstances that he's had to work with. They had a short turnaround to the end of the season. COVID protocols, players left and right are being taken in and out of the lineups. We just saw during All-Star Weekend that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid couldn't participate due to contact tracing. So there's an abundance of circumstances working in a different direction for these coaches as well as these players. And I just think those two are the clear-cut favorites to win the award. If I had to pick one right now, I would probably go with Quinn Snyder.
Well, I'll probably say Monty Williams.
Okay.
Because they didn't make the playoffs, and he has them in the right direction. Not only to make the playoffs, but probably make a run in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And Quinn Snyder, the Utah Jazz, they're a staple in the playoffs every year. Mm-hmm. And with the program that they have in place, they usually are a steady team and consistent team. Right. And they're usually at the top of the standing. So my pick right now would be Monty Williams.
Again, I have no problem with that pick. I just feel like Quinn Snyder has done more over this past couple of years and is deserving of the award this year. A lot of times players and coaches don't get the award in a particular year that they performed in. I just think it's his time this year, and he has the Utah Jazz humming. They're the best team in the NBA right now record-wise, so I got to give it to him.
All right, that's a good
point.